Can we not put this on camera?
Good afternoon. We will be beginning this North Miami Youth Council meeting at 5:20 p.m.
All right, thank you. So, on behalf of the City of North Miami, this is our first Youth Council meeting. I would like to welcome the Youth Council. We're really excited for all the initiatives that are happening this year. So, the purpose of today's meeting is very brief. We're going to go over some orientation items just to familiarize our Youth Council members. My name is Akira. I am the liaison for the Youth Council. I'm very delighted to be here. I'm really excited to be a part of this initiative. I think it's very impactful and necessary to have a Youth Council to go over some of the issues that we may not necessarily, we tend to overlook because they're younger. So I think that's important as well. So before I move forward, we're going to start next with brief introductions. Starting with the left, we're going to start with Estacy Cotier.
My name is Stacy Cotier, and I am Councilwoman for District 2.
Hello, my name is Angelina Fleume, and I am Vice Mayor representing District 3.
My name is Marlene Apollon, and I'm council member for District 4.
My name is Azari Philsant, and I'm North Miami Youth City Clerk.
My name is Hillary Alcinat. I am City Attorney.
My name is Justine, and I'm the city manager.
Excellent. We're so happy to have you all here. Next, we're going to go over warnings and absences. So for our youth council, I must cover warning and absences. So for warnings, 10 minutes late to a meeting after 2 warnings will equal 1 hour deducted from your youth council meeting category. The next item is 10 minutes late to an activity/field trip. After 2 warnings, 1 hour will be deducted from the field trip and or activity credit. Item C, no excuse given prior to being late. After 3 warnings, complete credit hour will be deducted for the activity. For number 2, as far as absences goes, 20 minutes late to an activity, no points or hours in this case, will be given for the activity. Any unexpected excuses and or absences will also be deducted from the community credit. It is important to note here that, so the rules for the warnings may adjust. However, it needs to be in 24 hours in written approval before the meeting occurs to not be counted towards you as far as removing the community credit. Okay, next we'll be going over the bylaws by the Madam City Clerk's office.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. And again, congratulations. I'm extremely proud of every single one of you. As some of you may know, my name is Vanessa Joseph. I'm the elected city clerk for the city of North Miami. I am joined here by my assistant city clerk, Janai Pomales, who will continue on, but I'll give you just a brief start about some of the things that we do in the office and also talk a little bit about where you can get that information from, specifically to help inform Clerk Filosen's work on your youth council, all right? So one of the things that they wanted for me to speak to you all about is Robert's Rules of Order. And so an interesting thing that you might learn is that the official North Miami Council does not actually follow Robert's Rules of Order. And so for those of you who aren't aware, Robert's Rules of Order is essentially a guide for how to run your meetings with structure. And so that doesn't mean that we don't have structure. It just means that we don't follow it by the book. And so for the most part, we really pay attention to Florida statutes. And then I guess I allow the city attorney to make those calls. So when you are in doubt, you can rely on your youth council attorney. So I know it's a heavy crown to wear, but I'm sure you'll get through it. Nevertheless, what you all can do, because you will, I assume, be developing your bylaws, is actually put in that you would like to use Robert's Rules of Order, right? So that you all have some sort of prediction as to how things will proceed, right? And what Robert's Rules of Order is going to do, and any rules of procedure for your meeting, is help you to figure out how this meeting is going to go, regardless of the topic, regardless of the people who are involved, regardless of the conversation that is being had, right? How long debate is going to take place, how we're going to vote on an item, how we make those motions. And so what we do have here for you is a handy dandy little cheat sheet that you can use. And I know that oftentimes you may hear motion two, but what you would say is, I move that, right? But again, all of these rules of procedure are up to you. And for you all to decide and incorporate into your bylaws, which is just your council's version of our city's charter, okay? So as you develop those bylaws, as you look through the old one that you have, see where there's room for improvement, make those suggestions and vote on them as a body to ensure that you are all in accord, in unison as far as how you want this to go, all right? Now, the role of a city clerk, I know that I'm elected. It is not just an elected role. It is also a actually professional role. And so in most cities, they are an appointed clerk or they are someone who is hired by the city manager, okay? So in our case, we have an elected clerk. And so one of the things that I did, because that's just the person I am, is I got all these books to tell me a little bit more about the role and how to ensure that I serve in this position with excellence, right? It's important to me that we are not, loosey-goosey about things and that there's always process and procedure and predictability in everything that we do, because as the city clerk, you have to be neutral, you have to be impartial, and you have to be extremely transparent. I know that our esteemed Madam Attorney here, Paul Marie Eli Bob, is going to be talking about sunshine law and all of that, but as far as transparency, that's something that's extremely important in our office. And so how can we be more transparent than just to make sure that everybody's treated the same and equally, right? So in my office, I will make sure I get you a copy of some of these guides. So you'll be helping to take minutes for your board. And so in coordination with your liaison, Akira here, who's done a fabulous job, you'll be able to use this as a guide. You can also refer to what we use at the office for our note-taking, and then you can always talk to Janai about it because she's the one who does it. I have, strategies for the professional clerk, so making sure that we talk about how we show up as a city clerk. And it's not something that's just for the city clerk. It's also whatever we learn at the city clerk level can be used for every seat here. Okay, so this is not just for Clerk Phyllis Saint. This is for the city manager, the city attorney, and all of the council people, mayor and vice mayor of the youth council. All right. How we speak in local government. Okay, we don't just say whatchamacallit, that thing over there, right? Words have meanings. So let's get you all apprised of what some of those words are, especially the most commonly used ones. This is a helpful handbook as to how to run a meeting. So this will make reference probably to Robert's Rules of Order, but it'll also teach you how to do your agendas and how to help Miss Akira compile some of the documents that you'll be producing as well. And I remember that you all had, when Alyssa's untimely passing came, you all had passed a resolution and presented that proclamation at her homegoing service. So there's a book for things like that as well, and I'll be sharing that with you, Ms. Filosen. So whatever items you need prepared, you let me know and we'll get you a sample so that you can work on it and create it yourself, because we will not do your work. You'll learn how to do it. Of course, filing procedures, because you always need to know how to find things. And the Bible for the city clerk is our municipal clerk's manual and resource guide. That's part of the professional association that we are part of as clerks. So I'm going to find out if I can enroll you in that, maybe in a youth council version if they have one. But essentially, this is the general overview of how to be a city clerk. But what's the most important document that you're going to refer to is your own bylaws. So the clerk's manual is going to give me what Florida statute says, what's been done in practice. But as you proceed, at least as the elected city clerk for the city, A lot of things are different over here at the City of North Miami, including the fact that I'm elected. And so what I always need to refer to is our city's code, the laws and policies and regulations that we have on the books. And so it'll be the same for you. So there could be a standard practice, but unless you all adopt that and codify that into your bylaws and into your own council's charter, it's not really what you have to do. Because if it conflicts with what your body has agreed to do, you have to actually go with what your body has said that we are going to do in our governing documents. All right? So I just wanted to share that little introduction and let Clerk Philosen know that I did not forget about her. I had all of these by my desk waiting for you. So we can set some time for us to do a little training together. But at this time, what I'll do is I'll leave it to Janai to talk a little bit more about the responsibilities. And I'm sure whatever she says that we do in the office, we do 3 times as much. So thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure to present to you all here, and have a great rest of your evening. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So, like Madam City Clerk Vanessa Joseph just said, is it
Can we get the TVs on? Sorry.
TV? Yes, the TV should be. I see this TV with the presentation already. Oh, okay. All right. So please stand by. No. This TV, no. Let me see.
Yes.
Alrighty, so right now we're going to be going to work with Madam Clerk. So this cute little presentation is just explaining the roles that Madam City Clerk Vanessa Joseph does on a day-to-day, okay? So let's begin. So first things first, keeping track of the city's council, of the city council's decisions. Next, safekeeping the city's records and making them accessible to the public. So, let me ask Miss Madam City Clerk, sitting right here in front of me. So, let me ask you, so what do you think safekeeping the city's records and making them accessible to the public, what do you think that looks like?
Releasing, I would say, like, appropriate information for the rest of, I guess, our society to see, like the decisions, and then keeping the rest of the notes and discussion inside of the city.
Right, but city's records could be anything like city deeds, city properties, and things of that nature. We usually keep records of those things, so we have to make sure that we also make them accessible to the public. If someone asks us for it, we have to make sure that we give them to them in a timely manner. Okay. So watching over our city's elections. So just so you know, for those of you that don't know, we have our upcoming election next year, November 5th, 2024. Okay. So part of our job is we are the overseers of the elections. Okay. Next, accepting passport applications. So we are a passport acceptance facility. All right. So if you have any other, we also do, which is not included in this presentation, we also do we do notarization services, we do lobbyist registrations, and I believe that's it. So if you guys have any questions, like it says right here, you could call us at 305-895-9817, or you can shoot us an email at cityclerk@northmiamifl.gov. All right, so any questions, you can always come up to me later, and I'm more than happy to answer them for you, okay? Thank you. I hope you guys enjoy. So just read this document. Alrighty. So right now we're gonna go over the bylaws. So right here it says I have a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, appointing members to the North Miami Youth Council in accordance with Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 11, Section 2-257 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, providing for an effective date and all other purposes. So whereas the purpose of North Miami Youth Council is to provide the youth of North Miami with a vehicle to learn about government, participate in the process of City of North Miami government, represent and articulate the needs of youth in the city, and advise the mayor and city council on matters affecting the youth and teen population, especially city programs related to youth and teens. And whereas Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 11, Section 2-257 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances allows the mayor and each council member to appoint 2 members to the Youth Council. And whereas additionally, the city manager, the city clerk, and the city attorney shall each select a Miami-Dade public school system student to be a non-voting member of the Youth Council. And whereas appointees shall reside in the City of North Miami shall be the students in the 10th, 11th, or 12th grade and shall demonstrate a sincere interest in the motivation to work for the community and have a background in community-based activities in accordance with Section 2-257 of the City Code. And whereas the mayor and city council desire to appoint the following individuals to the North Miami City Council. Now, therefore, be it duly resolved by the mayor and city council of the City of North Miami, Florida. Section 1, recitals. So the recitals set forth above are adopted by the mayor and city council of the City of North Miami and are incorporated herein. So appointments, the mayor and city council of the City of North Miami, Florida hereby appoint the members listed in Exhibit A to the North Miami Youth Council. All right, so I believe were these the bylaws, I believe? All righty. So I believe that is it. I'm going to pass the floor down to City Attorney.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yeah. Good evening, ladies It is a pleasure for me to be here with you. My name is Paul Marie Ellie Bob. I am the Assistant City Attorney for the City of North Miami. And I guess my counterpart for the Youth Council Board is your Youth Council City Attorney. And I am here today to give you a somewhat of an ethics training as it relates to being on a government. Your Youth Council Board, yes, it is an appointment from the Mayor and City Council for the City of North Miami, but you would abide by the same laws. And when it comes to government, as the city clerk said, and she did a really good segue for me to come into it, is transparency. And I know it doesn't feel that way when you watch the news. You're like, oh, they were hiding this. No one knew about this. But transparency is key when it comes to government, because you are a representation of the people who elected you, which is the community, the constituents. They need to know what you're doing. They need to know why you're deciding how you're deciding. And that cannot be done if it's not done in the open, right? If we have the mayor and District 4 having conversations on the side, we don't know why you guys had that conversation. We don't know how you guys came up to the conclusion that you did, and we don't know why you were doing this two-person meeting when you're supposed to be on a board discussing matters that entails the people who put you into this position. I did not have a PowerPoint presentation for the computer, but I did print out a booklet that everybody should have. Okay, so we're gonna go over this booklet real quick so that we can, and then open the floor, I guess, to ask some questions, and we can go back and forth and have a little discussion in terms of what your role is as a youth council member. So Government in the Sunshine Law. What Government in the Sunshine Law does for Florida is relate to their meetings. And it pretty much says that any meetings that you are having, any conversation that you are having with another board member has to be done in public. We're not saying that District 2 and District 3 can't have a conversation with themselves, but if that conversation is going to have to do with your position on this youth council, which means that you're going to be discussing any work that has to do with you as a council person, it needs to be done in public, in the open. So, Government in the Sunshine Law. Government in the Sunshine Law is also known as the Florida Sunshine Law. Why do you guys think it's called Sunshine Law? Exactly. You know, there's this Haitian saying, I'm Haitian, there's this Haitian saying that says, the whole of lies isn't deep. Because everything you say that is a lie, or everything that is done that is a lie, will come to light at some point. So when they say sunshine law, that means like the sun will shine. Everything that is done needs to be out in the open. It needs to be just very plainly open. So it says the purpose of the law is to promote government transparency and openness by allowing the public to observe the decision-making process of government agencies. So you would be considered a government agency because not only did the people vote you in, and when I say vote you in, they voted the elected officials in, who in turn appointed you. You get the connection? So technically, you were voted in, right? All right, so key points of the Sunshine Law. I'm on page 5 now. Open meetings, public access, notice requirements, records access. So open meetings, like I discussed earlier, everything that you do that has to do with your position as an elected official needs to be done in the open, so long as it has to do with the position of being an elected official. If you want to message or communicate with the mayor, hey, what are we doing Saturday night? Let's go hang out. That has nothing to do with you being an elected official. However, if you want to message them and say, hey, did you see that ordinance that they want us to vote on? That's it. Just needs to stop. Because that communication at that point, you texting them or you going into their office to discuss it, it's no longer open to the public. And open to the public doesn't only mean that, oh, there has to be people around when we say it. It means that there needs to be a meeting. So public access means members of the public have the right to attend and observe these meetings. So as a layperson, as a resident, how would you know that there's a meeting if it is not advertised, right? If it's not noticed. So notice requirement means that anytime that we're having a meeting, we also have to let the public know that there's a meeting being had. So that really puts constraints on you being able to go into your counterpart's office to discuss something that you guys are supposed to be voting on tomorrow. Records access. In addition to open meetings, the Sunshine Law also addresses public access to government records. And that also falls in the purview of the city clerk's office, where everything you do that relates to government business is public access. If you're sitting on the dais right now during this meeting and you text District 3, hey, I can't believe that this is what she said in that presentation, that's a public record. And if a resident in the audience says, hey, I want to put a public record in to see what District 4 texted District 3, now your phone is open to someone going through your text messages and seeing everything that you discussed. And we don't want that. So we're going to keep it very open, very, very sunshine. So this says, this includes meetings of boards, commissions, and other governing bodies of the state and local government agencies. The reason that you guys have to abide by the Sunshine Law is because you were appointed by the mayor and city council. And in turn, you're kind of like a representation of themselves. The law ensures that discussions and decisions made by government officials are accessible to the citizens that they serve. And that goes back to, if you are a representation of myself because I have voted you, I need to be able to understand and know and comprehend why you're voting the certain ways that you are and how you're doing it. Scope of Sunshine Law. Overall, the government in the Sunshine Law in Florida reflects a commitment to transparency and openness in government activities. It's designed to empower the public by providing access to information and fostering an informed citizenry. So if I am able to see every time you guys are discussing, let's say you guys are going over a resolution. I don't know what the most recent resolution was that you guys have passed in the past, but let's say you're putting in a resolution to make Tuesday's Youth Council Board Day. Every Tuesday in October is the Youth Council Board Day. That, in turn, has to be done in a way that all the citizens are able to see why you want Tuesday to be Youth Council Board Day, how, what's going to be the purpose of doing it, what will it cost, how will they manage it, all of that, the citizens will have a part in understanding why you're doing it, and they'll be able to have a say. Because it defeats the purpose if you can hear why, but you can't say anything. The scope of Sunshine Law. So it says any meeting between 2 or more members of the same board, that goes back to me saying you can't have your little corner meetings and discuss what you're going to be hearing in the board meeting, when discussing matters that may foreseeably come before that board. So if there's a matter that you know is going to come before your board, and this goes for mayor and council, it goes for advisory boards, it goes for educational boards, that's why it applies to you as well, because the statute says any board, meaning if you're appointed, elected, it applies to you. And it says meeting includes city commission meetings and workshops, includes telephone calls and text messages, right? Emails and other written correspondences. If I scribbled on a little note about how I feel about something that we're going to discuss or something that's being discussed now, that's you communicating in violation of the Sunshine Law. You're writing on a little note and then you're passing it to District 4. Informal discussions and deliberations. And that goes back to me saying, hey, we're going into the corner to discuss something that we're going to hear before the board. There are 3 basic requirements for the Sunshine Law. Meetings of public boards and commissions must be open to the public. There must be reasonable notice, because if it's open to the public but the public doesn't know, then it's not open to the public because we don't know to come. And there must be minutes of the meeting that has to be taken and promptly recorded and open for public inspection. The reason for this, can anyone help assist me as to why there needs to be minutes that are recorded and that is properly taken and open for public inspection?
So that people can clearly see that we are meeting and making changes for the community.
Okay, anything else?
Just to keep in track of anything someone said, so we could like go back to it.
Okay, anything else?
I would also say so that they can also hold us accountable.
All of that is right. All of that is right. You have minutes so that you see that you, as an elected body, can see that your vote was recorded the way that you voted, that what you said was said the way that you said it, and then the people can see that, hey, this is how he voted, this is how This is what he said about certain topics, and then I'm able to inspect it. It holds the city accountable, it holds the council person accountable, and it just opens the meeting up even more for transparency and openness. Advisory boards and committees, and I mentioned that earlier, that the law extends to it because as the elected official is the main body, you guys are appointed by them. Advisory boards are boards that don't really have binding decisions, which means anything that you guys would decide, it still has to go before council for them to approve it and codify it and make it into a law or whatnot. Pretty much kind of, I believe you guys passed an ordinance for your former city clerk, correct?
That was actually the council before last year's council, but
Ah.
I am aware of what you're.
Okay, but you're
Yeah,
aware.
yes.
So what they did is they passed an ordinance, and that ordinance, it wasn't law, it wasn't binding, but it became binding once the city of North Miami mayor and city council codified it and made it law. So yeah, your advisory, yeah, your decisions, it doesn't really make an effect on other people or the residents. However, it does, because you can just nicely get it codified by the mayor and city council who appointed you. Scope of the Sunshine Law. Meeting of staff are not ordinarily subject to Sunshine Law. District 4 can have a meeting with the city manager to discuss whatever item is coming before you. District 3 can have a meeting with the city clerk to discuss whatever item is coming, or with the city attorney. However, what you cannot do is District 4 meet with the city manager and tells the city manager, hey, can you go and tell District 3 this? Or can you tell me how District 3 felt about that? That is considered you communicating outside of, you're communicating in the dark. There's no sun there, so that cannot happen either. So pretty much the law for meetings, it's very broad. And pretty much a lot of what you do that you wouldn't consider a violation of that law, and it is. Because you thinking that you're reaching out to the city manager saying, hey, how did District 1 decide, or how did they feel? Or can you let District 1 know that I decided this? That is you violating that law, and we're gonna get to that part in the back of the PowerPoint that discusses what a violation is. Another item is you are allowed to communicate as long as no one communicates back. So if you are going to see an item, let's say for example, a building that is being built, 500 stories, at the corner of 8th Ave and 125th. It's possible that District 2 saw an article that references 500-story buildings in different cities or in different areas, and how they're great or how they're poor for the community that they're going into. She can forward that to District 3. District 3 cannot respond. It stops with, she forwarded that article and that's it. There can't be any communication about back and forth, and that's what that means. You can go ahead and forward that to them, but that's it. It can't be, she sent it to you and you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, we should vote. No. She forwards it to you, that's it. Because then it's not a communication, then it's not a meeting that references an item that you guys are going to see. When I say that the Sunshine Law is very broad, it's because there are very few items that doesn't fall within their purview. The only exceptions that, at least the most common exceptions that we deal with when it comes to the Sunshine Law is attorney-client privilege, and this would come in with the Youth Council Board Attorney. Communications and discussions between government attorneys and their clients, which is the government agency. So the city attorney is the attorney for the government agency, which the city of North Miami, the incorporation. That incorporation is her client. What she discusses in terms of like defending the city is not open to public records. It's not open to violating the Sunshine Law. National security. So there's a communication about how we're going to keep this building safe that you would have with the chief of police. That's not open to Sunshine Law, because if you're discussing how you're going to keep a building safe, it's no longer a plan, because then everybody knows it. Criminal investigations, which is not really in our purview, but that is one of the exceptions. Everything I'm pretty sure you guys have watched shows where it's like, oh, it's an open investigation, so we can't really share the details. That's where this one falls into. Let's see, I'm gonna try and go fast so you guys are not here all night. As a board member, you cannot go and poll staff. What that means is you cannot go to this director and find out how they voted and find out how that council person felt, and then go to this director and find out how that council person felt, and then go this director, because then that's really you bypassing the law to find out how everybody else is voting so you can know how you're gonna make your decision, when that's not how it should be done, because that's no longer in public. And so when they say that a meeting needs to be open to the public, just because you've given them notice, remember I said it needs to be noticed, I said that it needs to be out in the open, and then I said, what was the third thing I said? Minutes. Minutes. You guys aren't paying attention? No, I'm joking. So just because you have minutes and you have notice and you have the meeting in open doesn't mean that you guys can go to a restaurant and have that meeting, because that is a burden that you're placing on that resident, because now they have to buy a plate or a meal to attend that meeting. This meeting that you're having, which is supposed to be open, needs to be in an area that doesn't place any burdens or requirements on the residents who do want to attend that meeting. Let's see. And this might not apply to you, but I'm going to give it to you anyways. Your board can adopt reasonable rules, and this goes back to your bylaws where you're going back and forth in terms of this is how we would like our board to govern. These are the rules that we're going to abide by. You can put in certain conducts that you allow in your board. So I believe in our council meeting, you're not allowed to clap. And I believe that that's in either the statute or the code of ordinance for the city's code or charter. You guys can put something like that as well. However, you can't put a law that says you can't use photography, you can't take pictures, because in that way, it's as if you're stating this is secretive, you can't take pictures, you can't take video. That's going to go against the Sunshine Law, and it's going to be a violation. Okay. Meetings, right to the public comment. Florida Statute Section 286-0114. Members of the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard on a proposition before a board or a commission. What this means is that residents have a right to be heard, they have a timing of opportunity to be heard, and maintaining orderly conduct. So members of the public have the right to be heard on a proposition before the board or commission. If you guys have ever watched any of the city council meetings, you'll notice that at the very end of the meeting, there is a citizens forum. And at that citizens forum, every single person in the room has an opportunity, I believe it's 2 minutes, to state whatever grievances they have, to make whatever comments they have, to bring whatever issues they're going through before their council. But also, after certain ordinances and quasi-judicial items, there is also a possibility that the mayor will say, do we have any public comments? And whoever has an issue or who wants to speak on that specific item will come up, they will say their name, their address, and they'll have their 2 minutes to say whatever it is that they feel about that specific item. That's what they mean by right to public comment. Okay. Penalties. Any member of a board or commission or of any state agency or authority of a county, municipal corporation, or political subdivision who knowingly violates the Sunshine Law is guilty of a misdemeanor of the 2nd degree. So they take it very seriously. When they say knowingly, that means you know the Sunshine Law, you know that you're discussing something that is going to come before the board, and you did it anyways. They consider that one of the biggest violations, which is why they consider it a misdemeanor of the 2nd degree. However, an unintentional violation may be prosecuted as a non-criminal infraction resulting in a civil penalty of $500. It's not as bad as knowingly, it's unknowingly. I didn't know this item was coming before council. I discussed it with District 1 or District 2, but I didn't know it was going to come before council, so I didn't know it was city business. That's unknowingly. That's why it's very important once you're discussing city business, you go ahead and you reach out to your city clerk. You let your city clerk know that I would like to have this discussion with District 2 about XYZ item that's coming before council. City clerk will in turn advertise it, give notice, give an appropriate area for it to be, for that meeting to be held so that the public can attend, and then you have that discussion. What this does is forces you to be transparent because, like I said in the beginning, transparency is the most important part of local government and federal government, state government, whichever it is. Recognizing that the Sunshine Law should be construed so as to frustrate all evasive devices, the courts have held that action taken in violation of the law was void ab initio. So not only is it possible that you'll get fined $500 or it's a misdemeanor of the second degree, any subject that you guys ended up discussing that was in violation of the Sunshine Law is void from the beginning. So no matter what, if it was an amazing project that you guys approved for the city, if it's discovered and it's voted on or it's found to be in violation of Sunshine Law, whatever that project is you voted on, it's void. It doesn't matter. So all that work and heavy duty lifting you did, all that secret meetings, it was for nothing. You're fined $500 or you're charged with a second degree misdemeanor for nothing because now it doesn't even matter because they're voiding it from the very beginning and nothing that was done in reference to that project that you saw is viable. That's it. Any questions?
Yes, I actually have two.
Yes.
I have attended multiple council meeting, including quasi-judicial ones, where I've heard a council member say, oh, I did speak to such and such regarding this matter. Is that the same as them saying they secretly spoke to them and that they're bringing it out to the public now?
So
Or-
with quasi-judicial items, it's a bit different. So when a council person, for example, like what you're bringing up, has to recuse themselves from being able to vote on an item because they had ex parte communications, not with their fellow council people, but with the person bringing the project. And it was outside of the open forum. So it's not a violation of the Sunshine Law unless he moved forward and didn't tell anyone that he had ex parte communications with the project manager, the developer, and whatnot. But the fact that he brings it open to the public, hey, I have had communications on this project, I cannot vote on it in a biased manner, in an unbiased manner, that is him letting him know, hey, I'm adhering to the Sunshine Law. I'm letting you know that I spoke to this person before. I've already made up my mind about certain things. I can't vote on this item. Any other questions?
What things are not open to the public, like during a meeting?
During a meeting, what is not open to the public? Very few things are not open to the public. Very few things. Unless you're going to start discussing strategies of how you're going to represent the city, which would fall under attorney-client privilege, it's open to the public. Criminal investigations, that would be closed, but in a public meeting, very few items are not open, which is the main purpose of it being a public meeting.
I do have my second question.
Absolutely.
At our swearing-in ceremony, the mayor and council did mention that they wanted us to go ahead and pass something that we would bring forward to them to make, into law and such.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something we would, a single person obviously put it on the agenda and then present and then we vote on it and bring it to them? Or is that something we could speak about and then vote to bring up to them?
Okay, so this is how it would work. There are two different ways that you can make it work. You can make it work where you guys have the conversation during this open meeting and different people bring their different options, different opinions, different projects or whatever it is that they would like to pass. Everybody has their own projects, has their own wishes. But during that meeting, you all come together and pick one or pick two, however many they said that they wanted to see from you guys. And from there, your city clerk, your city attorney would then draft whatever that item is that will come before. Once your city attorney drafts that item, I think you guys have to meet again to approve that item. Once you guys approve that item, then it would go to mayor and city council board. The other way it would be District 2 brings forward something that she wants to see passed. You guys discuss it in the meeting, and it's just her. She's already had everything drafted by the city attorney. She already knew from A to Z this is what she wanted, and then you guys vote on it. It can fail or it can pass. I would go with process 1 because then it's a unified effort. And nobody has to work extra because the city attorney doesn't want to have to draft resolutions or ordinances that aren't going to pass. But then if everyone together during a public meeting have said, this is what we want to see an ordinance or a resolution about, then she drafts it, then you come back and vote on it, and then it goes to mayor and council board.
When you say come back and vote on it, that means we had the discussion.
You have another meeting.
Another meeting? Okay, but.
You have one meeting to discuss what it is you want to see, because remember, all your communications about items that you're going to bring before the board has to be in public, right? So you have, let's say you use this meeting to discuss an item that you want to come before the board. Once you've all decided, yes, we want to turn City Hall pink. We've all discussed it, we've all approved it, we're all okay with it. Next meeting, once your city attorney has drafted that resolution that we're gonna make City Hall pink, next meeting that you guys have, you vote on it. And it passes so long as you have majority, 3-2, right? Once it passes, then it goes to mayor and city council, and then they decide, all right, well, they've requested that we paint City Hall pink. We're gonna codify it and then make it a legal resolution and paint City Hall pink. So it would take like a 2-meeting process for you guys, so that you adhere by the Sunshine Law.
Okay, and would we be able to speak amongst ourselves in between the 2 meetings?
No.
No, okay.
Whatever you need to discuss will need to be done at that first meeting, and if you need more discussion, you discuss some more at that second meeting, and you can't come to a vote, and you have a third meeting until you guys have come to a place where, open in the public, everyone is fine with it, or at least the majority of the people in the room are fine with it. But whatever discussion you want to do has to be done in the open public.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
So one of my questions is, who is the 3 people who can vote?
So the people who can vote are District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4, and the mayor. You are, let me see if I can put this in, you are like the person who holds everybody accountable. You don't vote, but it's like you're like that mother who's constantly telling, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. The law says you have to do this. This is how the law says you have to do it. So pretty much you're not voting, but you're telling them, no, we can't pass that law because there's a statute that contradicts with what you're trying to say. I believe the city clerk kind of like touched base on, if it's not in the bylaws, the statutes. So the statute is what is pretty much Florida's law. So you would be that person to say, yeah, I know you guys really want to pass this, but the statute says we can't paint the city pink. We can only paint it blue. You get what I mean? That would be your job. The city clerk pretty much runs the meeting. She keeps the minutes. She has the records. City clerk will be able to pretty much elaborate more on what the city clerk does. And the city manager, you're administrative. So you know all the inner workings of how the city works. I'm assuming you would be the liaison who works most closely with Akira. What's your second question?
Okay, my second question is...
Am I going too fast?
No.
No? Okay.
Are you helping me, like, learn how to draft the papers?
Yes, we can. Absolutely. Yes. Okay. We absolutely would help you draft the papers. We would, Akira would kind of like walk you through the formal process of getting a resolution or an ordinance drafted for the youth council board. And it literally will be done just like the mayor and council board is done. So your positions are very serious.
I have a question.
Yes.
So my question is, I know that I will be in charge of minutes, but am I also in charge of making the agenda, or is that the attorney's job?
That's your job.
Okay.
Well, for North Miami, like the clerk said, a lot of the things that we do are a bit different. There are certain cities where the clerk does the agenda. At North Miami, the city manager does the agenda. So I don't know if you guys want to hold the same format and the manager does the agenda, or if you want to switch it up and, switch it up and put into your bylaws that the clerk would do the agenda.
I do want to actually comment and ask a question on that?
Yes.
Last year, I know our liaison
Mhm.
did the agenda because we don't actually have access to any, of the computers and all the stuff.
Well, you don't need the city computer to do an agenda.
Yeah,
You can legit
like,
write it on a
Mhm.
sheet of paper, reach out to Akira, hey, this is how I want the agenda to go. L- This, my wish for this board is for you guys to take it as seriously as possible. And I know you guys are younger, and it's not like you weren't elected by the people, but this is an amazing opportunity for you guys. You guys are high school students, but you're sitting on a youth council board. So yes, I would like for you guys to do your agenda, even if you're not typing it up, putting it on letterhead with the city logo. You legit can have your agenda written on a sheet of paper or in an email or a text message, and you send it to Akira. Hey, these are the items that we would like to hear. I don't know if Akira is fine with that process, but try and be as collaborative in the process as you can, as possible, as much as she'll let you or as much as allowed. You get what I mean? Yes.
I wanted to know that when it comes to making an item, how do I go to the process, like, to make an item?
What do you mean by making an item?
Like, let's say there's something going around the city that I notice, and I want I want an item about it. Am I able to create the own item, or does it have to be one of the district or the mayor?
Most times in an agenda, both city administration and mayor and council can bring an item. So when you guys go home tonight, pick whatever agenda, if you go on the city's website, you go under agendas and minutes, you'll find the mayor and council agenda. And pick whatever resolution ordinance. Go to the very last page of the legislation. You will see who it was sponsored by. It'll say sponsored by city administration. It'll say sponsored by mayor and city council. And that's what tells you how they decided to bring that item before the board. So if if youth board council wants to bring an item, they bring it up, and it'll say sponsored by District 4, sponsored by mayor and city council as a whole. But if it's city administration, like you said, city manager, then it would say city administration. And it would be an item that you've seen that you want changed. You would coordinate with Akira to see how you can get the legislation drafted and brought before your board. Yeah. And the city attorney can do so as well. You can have items that you sponsor. These are items that you've noticed that you want incorporated within the youth council board or in the city, and you bring that forward. Anything else? I'm all yours. Anything else? Well, that concludes my presentation for the city attorney's office.
Sorry. She has a question.
Yes.
I had one question.
What's your question?
When you mentioned how one meeting can spill into another meeting, and we'd have to wait for like another meeting, would we have to wait each month for the meetings to happen, or are we able to meet in between?
Okay, so your meetings are every month. I don't know if Akira allows for this, but with mayor and city council, if there's an item that is pressing that you need to discuss, then you have a special meeting, which is also advertised, and it falls under the same categories of the Sunshine Law. It's advertised, open and public, but it's a special meeting that you would kind of like plug in, where you would have January 16th and January 20th. So that would be a special meeting, and it would be called a special youth board council meeting. But I don't know if Akira if that's part of your bylaws, if that's allowed. You can go a month and wait a month to discuss your items. Unless it's like super uber pressing, then you have to have a special meeting.
So I understand that writing down stuff isn't like a part of the rules, but let's say we have a topic, we have to wait till next month. Sometimes we forget what we want to talk about. So is it still okay for us to write down our points that we want to make for the next meeting, or is that still public record?
Are you sharing that with someone?
No.
You're writing it down for yourself?
Yeah, so that you can remember.
So that you can remember? It is probably still a public meeting. It's probably still a public record. It's not a violation, though. It's two different things between violating the Sunshine Law, and and a public record.
Okay.
So we didn't do a presentation on the public record. Maybe sometime next year we can do a presentation on public record. So a public record, it's not that you violated the law. It's not that you are in trouble. It's just that things that you've typed up, things that you've documents that you have, it's open for public inspection. So let's say you wrote notes of things that you need to remember for your next meeting. It's open to public. It's open to the public, so it's a public record. But that's not an issue because it's nothing that, it's not illegal. It's nothing that's private, unless they were mental notes. I'm so sorry. Unless they were mental notes that that you're using for yourself, then it's not really a public record because it's just kind of like notes that you're taking in reference to what you're hearing. That when it's that, you're able to defend yourself with that. It's easier for you to go to court and just defend yourself in terms of, no, these are my mental notes. These are for me. They weren't in reference to anything that the public needs to hear because they're mental notes for me to remember. And you can kind of quote the privacy law so that you don't have to reveal that. You get what I mean? Okay. Anything else?
About the public records also, would we go and then submit those documents, that whatever we have, or we
No.
would wait for someone to request, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If no one requests them, oh well, no one requested them. If it doesn't exist, they asked for it, it doesn't exist. If you have a sheet of paper and they thought you were writing something, you have a sheet of paper on the desk and people think you're writing something, but you're not writing, you're just twirling your pen, they put in a request, we want to see what the councilwoman was writing on her sheet of paper, there is no public record because she wasn't writing anything. You get what I mean? Yeah. But you don't have to voluntarily go, oh, I was writing something, here you go. If they don't ask for it, they don't get it. Good to go? Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me and let me take up all your time. Keep your PowerPoints, they'll come in handy. And good night. I'm so excited for you guys. I'm excited to see your legislations being drafted in our offices and working closely with you guys. Congratulations again, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Akira, the floor is all yours. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So next on the list, we have voting. So I don't know if you recall, but in the email that I sent, I mentioned that there would be a voting process this evening. So what will happen is you will vote for positions. The two positions that are available for election is vice mayor and mayor. We'll perhaps give maybe a 2 to 3 minute speech for the interest of time. And then after that, the entire members will decide on voting who will be their next mayor and vice mayor. And then we will proceed with the next agenda item. So does anyone have any interest for mayor or vice mayor? Okay, I have one. All right. All right, Angelina, make your case.
Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Angelina Florim. Firstly, thank you for being here. And I know some people are traveling and soon, and some are currently traveling. It is an honor that I get to be on a council again this year. And for a few of us, it is our final year on this council. For those who did not know, I was vice mayor for the youth council last year, and this year I'm asking for you to vote for me to be mayor of the council. For some insight, let's just say I was a little mind blown about the many things being in this space can accomplish. My network has grown beyond what I ever thought it would be, and I was blessed to go on quite a few trips with some of you during my time on the council, including Washington, D.C. and New Jersey. I've attended countless events with the city representing the youth council and have put in so many hours of community service, I can't even remember how many. I'm committed to the youth council and try to do everything I can do to be a help to someone else or simply represent us in any space. My goals have continued on into this next youth council term. I hope that this youth council, through our leadership, would be a voice for the youth in the great city of North Miami, for all youth, especially for minorities and different cultures this city holds. As a Haitian American Black woman and older sister, I aspire to continue to open doors for those next to me and upcoming. I made a list, and I'm sure the city clerk has it also, of items we passed last year, and I hope that if you vote for me for mayor, we can continue to work together and see them through, and also work on making new initiatives and getting them done. I'm excited, and I hope you all are excited, and once again, please vote for me to be this year's Youth Council Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelina. Now, for the one thing, for the interest of time, and two, because we are missing one of our council members, I suggest that we table the voting process to the following meeting. I guess, Azaria, you can choose whether the board decides to take a vote on that, and then we will resume voting come December 16th.
All right. So I'm making a motion to table the vote until our next meeting. How do we vote?
I actually have a question for Akira.
Go ahead.
As far as the for the voting, I do know we are missing some council people. One of them is out of town, but do we know the whereabouts of the other members, if they are going to be joining us this year at all?
Yeah.
Or how would,
That's why I propose that we table the voting process, only just so I can get that clarification for you. And then that way, for the next meeting, we'll have, hopefully, we'll have all the council members, and then we'll have the decision on whether that individual will be joining us or not.
okay, Azaria, I do second your motion to vote.
Madam Cotier?
I second your motion.
I second your motion.
Everyone has voted yes, so it's carried.
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. All right. With that being said, I just have a few just short announcements. So our next meeting will take place December 16th. And then the following dates will be January 16th, 2024. And then we have February 20th, 2024, March 19th, 2024, April 16th, 2024, May 15th, 2024. And our final meeting before we go into recess will be June 18th, 2024. And that concludes my portion for today's meeting.
As far as the vote and officially selecting a date for the next one, I do want to make note that I actually won't be at the next meeting, or there's a chance, but I most likely will not, as I will be traveling a few days right before the next meeting.
That's
so-
fine. I think it actually works out because you gave your speech beforehand. So your other council members were able to hear it. We can also play it back. And then that way we can take the voting that way. I don't see, unless if you guys oppose, that's fine too. We can postpone it to January, but because you gave your speech today, your other council members were able to hear it. I feel like it gives us enough insight on who we want to choose for the next mayor. Okay. All right, Zaria, please conclude this meeting.
All right, we will be concluding this meeting at 6:22 p.m.
All right, thank you.